2 years ago, this was me, being rushed to Northside Hospital in the back of an ambulance. I had allowed myself to stop focusing on what really mattered. Like many people, I allowed work, stress, and other things in my life to get the better of me. And at this point, it really got the better of me. My blood pressure was 200 over 100 and something. The spasms were so bad, my left shoulder was palpitating. I couldn't believe that this was my moment, having what I thought at the time was a potential heart attack. Well, I was fortunate. I got to the hospital in time. I had a great medical team, a great cardiology team, who allowed me to understand that although I wasn't having a heart attack, my health wasn't the best. That night, I sat in the emergency room. I went to an observation room for several hours, and finally, they decided to admit me to the cardiology wing of Northside Hospital. I was there all alone, except for the occasional visit from the phlebotomist drawing blood. This may sound like a scary experience to most people, but for me, I can honestly say that day, May 5th, 2023, I had one of the best restful nights of my entire life. You see, although it was not a positive experience, it was not a joyous experience either. It was an eye-opening experience because it allowed me to understand that I had to do better in order to get better. That I had finally reached what could be described as a medical rock bottom. I had gone to the back of an ambulance. The fire department came to my home to rescue me because I had allowed things that do not matter to consume so much of my life, it almost took my life. Now, you might say it's strange. What was so great about going to the hospital? Well, on the ride in the back of an ambulance, you have a lot of time. That little 10, 15-minute ride to the hospital seems like hours. And you're sitting there looking at the EMT, looking at the machines, looking at your numbers. Hopefully your heart rate stays the same. Hopefully your blood pressure doesn't go up. Hopefully your oxygen meter doesn't drop below 95. But while you're in there, you realize all the stuff just 10 minutes prior to that you were focusing on, that you were worried about, didn't matter at all. And then it comes to you. Fuck that shit. You see, I had gotten to the point where I understood I was overweight. I had terrible health. I had more joint pain than Fred G. Sanford. I was in a situation where I hated my job. I didn't care where I lived. The place where I lived at the time was a combination of living single and cops. So it was part bougie, part ghetto, or bougetto if you like. But none of those things were things that just happened. I had to be honest with myself. I was unhealthy because I made unhealthy choices. I was in an undesirable employment situation because I allowed myself to get comfortable. I ended up in the back of an ambulance because I stopped focusing on health. I had a terrible, unhealthy relationship with food, and I thought by being a sugar addict, it was better than being an alcoholic or drug addict. The funny thing is, most of the people I know who are drunks and drug addicts are actually healthy people. And here I was doing the socially accepted thing, especially in the South, definitely for government workers, by just being overweight, being unhealthy, and being fat. And look where it got me. Look where it almost got me. But that's when I came up with the idea that I had to do better. Things had to get better. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Many of you listening to this podcast have found yourself in similar situations. Situations where you woke up one day getting ready for work and you realized nothing fit anymore. And not only did the clothes not fit on your body, but your spirit didn't feel inside your soul because you were living a life that you didn't want. And although you were not expressing that externally, I can tell you, like many of us, you probably were expressing it internally with food. For me, I had to come to the realization that I had a food addiction, an unhealthy relationship with food. People call food, they like to call certain types of food comfort food. But if you think about it, the food that we call comfort food is the most discomforting. Think about it for a second. It causes inflammation, which gives us terrible joint pain. It causes diabetes, high blood pressure, hormone issues, and a host of other health-related issues that no one bothers to study because it's more money to make a profit off people's illnesses from food. But I didn't just want to focus on what the bad food did because, again, I made the decision to eat it. I made a decision to buy it. I made a decision to even cook it. I want to take this time, and the time I want to take with this podcast, is to talk with you about building a community around the concept of doing better, bettering ourselves. That's why the title of this podcast is Bettering Scott, because I needed to better myself. The motto for this podcast is complain and stay the same. You can blame everybody else. You can say it's the job. You can say I'm married, I've got kids, I've got bills. But there's always something that all of us have. There's always going to be somebody with a shittier job than you, a worse family than you, worse finances than you, and worse health than you. And even if yours is worse than everyone that you know, complaining is not going to solve it. A bitch fest never resolved anyone's problems. Now, I'm not saying let's hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and pretend everything is great, because it's not. But what I'm saying to you is, it's more fruitful venture and use of our time is to come together to motivate each other to do better. I want us to come together and let's have an honest conversation about our health, about our goals, about simply doing better. So if you join me by listening to this podcast, subscribing, sharing, definitely commenting, I think we can do this. I think we can have a growth journey together. And not the type of growth that puts on extra pounds, but the type of growth that's going to see us all prosper together as a community. This podcast is not a money grab. It's not going to be like those BS health gurus you see telling you if you just do 150,000 pull-ups or sit-ups, you're going to look like somebody in a fitness magazine. Because honestly, I know that's not the goal for everyone. And it's not necessary. But I think the goal for us is to start with a simple concept of how do we become better. For me, better focuses on my health. Because it's not that I want to look like a fashion model or a fitness model, but what I don't want to look like is a before picture. And so because of that, I've come up with some plans, some strategies to lose weight, to get healthy, to focus on my career goals, not just to stimulate my mind, but also take on some learning challenges as well, or learning projects to increase my employability skills so that I can get out of the bad employment situation that I'm in. I want to use this time that we'll have together, whether it be once or twice a week, still figuring that out, so bear with me, to come up with ways for us to grow, and grow with the concept of let's develop plans, giving out strategies, sharing best practices amongst our community of how do we overcome the struggles in life. Again, I'm not pretending. Watching the news is like watching Tales from the Crypts. There's almost nothing positive or uplifting to look forward to. And yes, you can go to your local TV station and watch the nightly comedies, but after you laugh, you realize they haven't solved your problems either. You can go out on the weekend and go to the club and drink, smoke, or whatever else is that you like to do after 12 o'clock. But once all that's done and you come home, no pun intended, you're still going to have the same problems you already had. But what we can do, what I'd like for us to do, is to just meet up, talk, laugh, maybe fight, because some of the debates are going to be controversial, especially when we have the conversation about why men lose weight faster than women. I've already heard that already. But that's okay. It's good that we have a place to discuss the things that matter, things that's going to change and optimize the quality of our life, versus sitting in front of a TV talking about the latest celebrity gossip or the orange person in Washington that everybody hates or everyone wants to worship, depending on your perspective. It doesn't make any sense to keep doing that because that's not going to change. And if I were to give you any advice for those people who like to consume yourselves with politics all day, I will give you a quote from former President Obama. Don't get mad, don't complain, vote. Because you had an opportunity to express yourself in November, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your position, one side won and the other side didn't. And if you believe in democracy, you got to accept that. You got to accept the fact that sometimes in life, your side loses. But that's okay because you've got an opportunity to come back. You've got an opportunity in 2 years or a year from now for the legislative elections. But more importantly, I would argue you've got an opportunity to be active in the community that you already live in and be active with your school board, your city council, your county commission. And we'll get into ways in which you can be active. We won't discuss politics because I don't think that's helpful, and there's already a billion people doing that. But we will have some conversations about civic involvement, how to make where we live a better place, and maybe to the extent that we can, make the world a better place. Really make America great again for all people, not just a select few. That's what I like to do with this podcast, and I hope you guys will join me on this particular platform, because I know, there are going to be a few stumbling blocks along the way. I'm getting back into editing, getting back into video production and working cameras again. That's something I did in a former life. And the funny thing is that was my favorite job of all. Paid me the least. I literally make 4 times what I made in that job right now. But I was happier in that job. I had a better life in that job. I had better health in that job. And the funny thing is, I was healthier in that job and I didn't even have health care than the one that I have now. Proving once again that money is not necessarily the best thing for you. I don't believe it's the root to all evil, but I will say that it is definitely all money ain't good money. But that's something we'll get into. I also am going to try and find some interactive things because I don't want you just to listen to me. I want to find some creative things and some challenges for our community to do to where you can give me feedback. You can, not just on the content, but also with some of the things, again, that you experience. Because I think each one can teach one. We all can learn from each other. And I think this is the positive thing that we're trying to do. Trying to create a space on the internet, a space in social media that, again, is not about bitching and complaining, blaming others for problems, nor is it about taking a defeatist approach to life. When I was in high school, and I give credit to my psychology teacher, Miss Erickson, she told us in class there are 2 types of people. They're the type of people who believe life happens to them. And those are the type of people who tend to blame the world and everyone for their problems. And then there are the other type of people, the type of people I would like for us to be, the type of people who take control and ownership of the problems. We can acknowledge things are not perfect, but we can also acknowledge our role in it and how we can make things better. Because ultimately, even if it is the other people's fault, I can tell you from experience, they don't give a damn. They're going to continue living their lives, doing the bullshit that they do, and they're not going to change no matter how bad your feelings are hurt. Therefore, you've got one of 2 things to do. You can get over it, or you can get around it. I choose to do both. Get over it and get around it. Because they are what they are, and they will always be what they be. So, that's my message for this particular episode, our inaugural episode. Thank you guys for listening. And I also want to give a special shout out to Black Box LOL, aka Earth Web, for helping me figure out the title to this podcast and working out the concepts and the purpose for the mission for this program. I thank you all for listening. Have a good night.